Good morning, ladies. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah. I'm coming live to you on October 3rd, 2023, and I am going to be sharing pattern 8 with you from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 3 book. I'm just going to give it a moment to make sure we are live and all good to go. I just had a couple of technical issues there. Susan Robinson is watching. Fantastic. Hi, Susan. Give me a little wave. Pop a comment in the box down below if you can hear me okay. We've got lots of sun here this morning, girls. So I am going to try to do most of what I need to do on this side, left-hand side of my camera here. I just had a couple of technical issues while I was trying to go live. The go live button wasn't working. Okay, I'm just going to pop a comment here. Can you hear me okay, Sue? Are we all ready to rock and roll? Give me a thumbs up or drop a comment in the box down there below just so I can know that everything is working okay. I'm just going to bring my desktop up as well. Okay. Excellent. Alrighty, we are good to go. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much for your patience there, girls. Alrighty, so this week's pattern is pattern 8 from the Make It From Your Heart book. It's on page 20 of the guide. And I absolutely love working with the Home for Christmas papers this week, but showing you how you can create a layout that is not Christmas orientated. The beautiful thing about our Home for Christmas paper collection is you've got these gorgeous greens and also the wood grain paper as well. So this isn't really Christmassy. I guess the tartan also not super Christmassy, but you can see that I've used the green paper here on the layout, and I've got the beautiful wood grain paper that's running through the middle here as well. So I wanted to also feature our new color, which you can see the cardstock down the side here where I've used it as my journal box, and also the title down the right hand side. This is one of our new colors, our new cardstock colors that is in the Essentials catalogue. You can see here the Home for Christmas paper collection on page 14 of your September-October catalogue, and all of the coordinating colours that we have along the top here. The jade, which is the green that I've used today on my layout, is actually one of the new colours that we have in our Essentials our Essentials catalogue. So I wanted to show you how to use that colour today and how it coordinates so beautifully with all of those papers. I've also used the Design Element stamp set down the left-hand side here, and I have used the Christmas stamp set, Stories of the Season, to create my journal box here. So I've stamped the lines here with the journal box, which I'm going to demonstrate to you today. And then I've also used that same stamp set to stamp the trees and fussy cut them out as well. So I'm going to be demonstrating that to you today also. I've added a flip flap on top of my layout here so I can get 2 extra portrait photos here. These photos were taken at Sundance, which is this beautiful mountain resort up in the hills above Salt Lake City. Monica is the president of Close to My Heart, and she took myself and 3 other of my fellow Close to My Heart colleagues up to Sundance to walk around. This was founded by Robert Redford. This is actually his quote here. I took a photo of that on the wall, but he founded this resort, and this was originally where the Sundance Film Festival was held. And these beautiful photos, this one actually, when I posted this on Facebook, people were like, are you in front of like a movie set? Like, it just looks so surreal. So these gorgeous outdoor photos, and I really wanted to showcase them using this paper collection and doing something other than Christmas, because let's face it, we are going to have a stack of Christmas themed layouts pretty much from here moving onwards. So I'm really going to try hard to mix it up a little bit and give you some other ideas and inspiration on how to use that paper for non-Christmas collections. The only thing I did different with this particular layout here, girls, is on the left-hand side, this was meant to feature a 5x7 inch photo. I didn't have a 5x7 inch photo, but I had 2 landscape photos in 4x6. So paper 3 was meant to be cut at 6x10 inches. I've just cut this paper a little bit bigger, so it's still at 10 inches, but I've cut it at 7 by 10 inches. And that's how I've ended up with that 1/2 inch border around the outside of my landscape photo, just by going a little bit thicker there. Okay, so that's the only thing different I've done for that particular layout. If you've got a 5x7 inch photo, then by all means, you can cut the paper patterns to the instructions. Otherwise, I love that. That is a great opportunity to be able to mix that up and showcase things a little bit differently. The other technique I've done here, I'll actually slide this out of my memory protector to get rid of that glare, is we've used the wood grain die cuts. Now, I did actually demonstrate this technique in our video last week. So these are the wood grain die cut shapes from the Essentials catalogue. They're $7.50 and you get a whole pack of different style shapes. But I did demonstrate this last week. And what I've done here is I've used my a wedge from my round sponge, and I have inked that up with the Mocha ink, and then I've sponged that over the top of the wood grain die cut. So I did demonstrate that technique. You can go to the video from last week to check that out if you like. So I'm just going to pop this to the side and bring my Versamat over here to do the stamping. Oh, good, that sun's going a little bit there. How was everyone's long weekend? I hope you all had a lovely long weekend. We went camping, which was lovely to have Darren home and have some time to go camping. And Kayla came with us in the swag, so it was so fun. Just the 3 of us. Jai wasn't interested. No surprises there. Let's start with the journal box. Okay, so this is the Stories of the Season stamp set. Now, this is a Christmas themed stamp set. It's in your September-October catalogue. You can see where they've used it here. This stamp set is designed to capture highlights of, obviously, the Christmas season. So these might be events or traditions that you have in the lead up to Christmas. So thinking about maybe Kris Kringle events, you might have a present swapping event. You might have pre-Christmas functions like drinks, nibbles, work functions. It might be traditions that you do like baking, Christmas caroling, all sorts of different things. It's meant to capture the stories of this festive season. Now, you are going to see me share some more layouts with this stamp set as we move through the next few weeks. But for today, I'm going to show you how to stamp. You've got a little journal box here. These 3 lines create journal lines. And I'm going to stamp the Christmas trees here as well. So this is all about documenting those family traditions and things that you have, events in the lead up to Christmas. So I'm just going to take my stamp set out of its packaging there. We're going to pop it over the top of my foam square, and we're going to make our little journal box. So what I've done here is I've cut the jade cardstock at 3x4. 3 inches by 4 inches. And then this mink cardstock, I've actually cut that smaller. So I'm pretty sure I've cut that at 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. That would make sense because then I've ended up with this border around the outside. So I've stamped the lines, and can you see this really cool distressed ink sponging effect around that journal box? That just gives it a really nice rustic, weathered, old traditional feel. I wanted to bring that technique in here with the sponging because just this beautiful outcast here of all of the trees and just making it, giving it that sort of wood grain effect with the sponging looks really cool. But I needed to create my journal box first of all before we do the sponging. Now, keep in mind, this is a little bit bigger than the one I've just shared with you then. I've got my stamp here, and then I'm just going to pop that. That's going to be a little bit too small, that block. And this one's going to be too big, but let's just make it work. We're going to pop our stamp onto the block there, and I've got my Intense Black ink pad here. Now, I will admit that this sometimes can be a little bit tricky to line your stamps up, because you can see here that this is going to take up just a couple of inches, and then we need to move the stamp along again to be able to stamp that. So you'll need to line that up there. I'm going to ink this up with I've used Intense Black, so I have used black for the dots. And then I'm just going to, this is a little tricky where I've got my camera placement here. So I'm just going to pop this. Now I'm using my 1/4 inches here. So you can see through the foam square here, the dots end up being about 1/4 inch apart. So I'm using the lines underneath my Versamat to line them up. And then what I need to do is ink that again, and then we're going to line that up next to the other blocks that are already there. So you can see through your acrylic block to line up those dots next to the other dots. That's not too bad, not too bad. What do you think, girls? And then I'll need to stamp some lines off the end of this one. There's only going to be a couple there. Oh, that one's a little bit too high. So don't get too discouraged if where you line up, I didn't line that up very well, I have to say. It's a bit tricky to do the stamping underneath the camera, because I want to get my head in and underneath so I can be right up against over the top of the stamp. So you can see here I've lined these up pretty well. This is actually bigger than what this one was as well. So if you're going to do this technique on your journal box, you will note that it will fit in a little bit easier. You're only going to need to stamp that once and then twice again, and it will fit up there next to each other. So it can be a little tricky lining those stamps up, so then you end up with one solid journal line. But I think you will have a good time at doing that. Don't forget, you can practice first of all as well. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm wearing glasses now, so it was a little bit tricky when I had my glasses on and I was trying to line it up. I think this was the third one I did. The first two samples were so bad, like it would have, my lining would have been, my journaling would have been all over the shop. So it's okay if you need to practice at first. That's probably a good tip. Practice lining your stamp up on your cardstock first of all, just to have a go at doing that beforehand. And then what you're going to do, sorry, I've just cleaned that stamp. What you're going to do, I'm going to ink that up again, is you're going to continue down the journal box. So again, you're going to be lining that up with your squares, so you're getting those journal lines evenly there together. If you want to make yours a little bit wider, you can make it wider. I tend to write small when I'm doing my journaling in my scrapbooking, so that I can get more journaling on to the page. But if you want to have bigger spaces between your lines, where you get that's the first set there, the 3. If you wanted to leave a bigger space there, you could do so. But because the stamp's already pre-lined, it obviously is going to make the space for you. And what I've done here is I've pre-wet my stamp chamois. And I've got that sitting in my stamp chamois case here like so. So you want to make sure that your stamp chamois is wet and ready to go before you start stamping, because as you can see, as soon as I've used my stamp, I wipe that off and put it back on its carrier sheet. Hey Belle, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Happy Tuesday. Alrighty, so now I'm going to show you how to do the stamping of your Christmas trees. So this technique is what we call fussy cutting. So if you hear me talking about fussy cutting, this means that you are going to stamp the image and then you are going to cut it out freehand with your micro tip scissors. And when we use the term fussy cutting, it's because the stamp set has not come with a coordinating die cut for you to be able to cut that shape out. So I'll give you an example in the catalogue here. So if this had a coordinating thin cut set, it would say it here down the bottom in the description. And then you would be able to tell, let's have a look at the Christmas one. I'll bring it back to the home for Christmas. Okay, so for example, this is the home for Christmas scrapbooking stamp set and thin cut. So you can buy the stamp set only, it says here, for $35.50. But if you want the stamp with the coordinating thin cuts, it's $55. And you can tell which stamps come with coordinating thin cuts because there's a solid blue line around the outside of the stamp. And so, for example, I've got the Home for Christmas card making workshop stamp set here. And all of these stamps and icons that are coloured blue mean that they have a coordinating thin cut to use with that. So I can stamp this Christmas stocking out, and then using the coordinating thin cut that comes with the set, I can then cut out that Christmas stocking. You can see on the stamp set as well on the carrier sheet, it's also got a line around the outside of the shape. So that means it has a coordinating thin cut. So I can stamp out that Christmas stocking. I can put my coordinating thin cut over the top of my stamped image, run that through my embossing machine, and I'm going to get a perfect Christmas stocking good to go. Sometimes you will get shapes in this instance here where it doesn't have a coordinating stamp. So you can see here this tree branch and these, well, I know they're leaves, but I think there's a particular term for these. But you can see there's not a coordinating thin cut, it's just the shape. So it's just the shape of the tree branch and the shape of these, what do you call these? It's going to do my head in. They're not bristles. It's like leaves, but it's like the little branches on the tree. And I've actually used that on my layout. So you can see here, I did the stamping first of all before I stuck my papers down. And then I had some of these little leftover sprigs. Are they sprigs, girls? Sprigs. I had some of these little leftover sprigs from my Christmas cards. So I've already made the cards that set came with. And I had some leftover ones. So you can see here, I've just popped them on my scrapbooking layout as some added embellishments. And I've got another one here over the top of my die cuts there. Sprigs. I think they are tree sprigs. So this particular stamp set does not come with any coordinating thin cuts. So I'm going to show you how to do the fussy cutting. So in some instances, you could just stamp your stamp straight onto your cardstock. But in this case, what I've done is I've stamped the tree onto some cardstock and then I've fussy cut it out. And I'm going to show you how I have sponged those afterwards. So you always want to make sure that you check your catalogue to see whether the stamp set you are purchasing, because sometimes that does happen, that the wrong code gets written up by accident and some people write up the code for the set or without the set. So you want to be sure on that, and it will tell you this one doesn't have a coordinating thin cut. So we are going to stamp out some Christmas trees here. Now, oh, this little star's popped off. Oh, both Anna trees. It's all falling to bits here. So I'm going to take my Christmas trees off. Now, to save me time, what I did here was I actually put 2 trees on the same block, right? You just want to make sure you leave yourself with enough room to cut in between. I'm going to put this little star back on before he goes falling off. And this one here as well. Oh, okay. So what I've done here, I'm going to get my Mink cardstock. Now, did I use the dark side or the light side? I think I've used the dark side. Or maybe it was the lighter side. Oh, no, it was the dark side. Okay, so I'm going to pop my paper here like so. That's actually not going to work. It's not thick enough. All right, so what I did, I'll just demonstrate it to you so you can see what I mean. I grabbed this scrap for the video this morning. So I've got my pine ink here, and I actually stamped some of the trees in 1st and 2nd generation stamping, because then I wanted to make like this little cluster of Christmas trees. but some of them had the darker pine and some of them had the lighter pine on them because that looks really cool. So I'm going to ink up my Christmas trees. Oh, where did that tree go? He literally just fell off the block. Are you kidding me? Oh, here it is. Here. Oh, my gosh. He fell off my block. I'm just going to move this along a little bit more. So you can see, girls, that things don't always go perfect for me while I'm crafting either. And that's okay because that's life, right? Okay, so we're going to ink our Christmas tree up. And I'm going to stamp my trees once. And then I'm going to stamp them a second time. I'm just going to move that along. And then this is what we call first and second generation stamping. So I have demonstrated this technique before in a previous video. I've stamped that first with the pine ink, and then I've stamped it a second time without re-inking it. And that's how you get that lighter version of the original pine colour. Now, I went along and stamped a number of different trees. I think this paper's a little bit it's at 1 inch. If you're going to do this, I would probably cut some cardstock at 1.5 inches. But let's have a go and see how it works out. Now, because I don't have a coordinating thin cut for this tree, I'm going to fussy cut him out. And all I'm doing here with my micro tip scissors is I'm going to cut up the side of the tree like so. This might work, girls. And then up the side of the tree here as well. I've ended up with, that doesn't look too bad actually. I've ended up with a little bit of a flat edge at the top of my tree. You can see here, these are all pointy edges. So the cardstock needs to be just a little bit thicker, but you get the gist. And I'm going to cut my other tree out here as well. So this one will work better. I'm going to end up with a pointy edge here because I'm going to cross over what I've already cut. And let's do these ones while I'm here as well. So this is the technique that we call fussy cutting. So you are fussy cutting out your stamped shape with your micro tip scissors instead of using a die cut. Now, I have to tell you, girls, these micro tip scissors are fantastic. These are in your essentials catalogue, and whether you are a scrapbooker, a card maker, a paper crafter, you definitely need to have a set of these micro tip scissors. Now, there's 2 pairs in the catalogue. There is the micro tip and then the non-stick. My suggestion would be to get the non-stick. They're only a few dollars extra, but the blades are coated and they have a non-stick blade so you can cut through adhesive. So I also use my scissors for cutting through my 3D foam tape, okay? So let's have a look at my trees and see what we've ended up with here. Some of these are going to be my scraps. Oh, no, there's a tree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut the bottom just so my trees are a little bit straighter. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off the bottom here. Perfect. So my base of my trees. Now, the thing with fussy cutting as well, the die cuts, you're pretty much going to get precision cutting every single time, right? The fussy cutting, it can go a little bit pear-shaped, but, you know, I don't want you to worry too much about that because that's the fun part of crafting, right? Where things don't necessarily have to look perfect. You want it to look unique and rustic, but I'm just evening that up and taking a little bit of my excess off. All right, so I've got my 4 little trees here, and now I have got my Mocha ink. So when I was deciding what ink colours to use, I always refer to my colour guide in my catalogue. So the great thing with Close to My Heart is that they take all that guesswork out for me. So here's all my coordinating colours. I've stamped my tree in pine. I've used jade cardstock on the layout, and now I'm using the Mocha ink to do the sponging of the trees. So if you're someone that struggles with coordinating colours or thinking about that is just, you know, a little stressful, please refer to that colour guide. I've got my Mocha ink here, and I'm going to pick up my little tree, and I'm just dabbing my round sponge. So this is the big round sponge here. I've cut that into 8s. I'm just dabbing up my tree and I'm going to sponge around the outside of him. And it's giving that really nice distressed wood grain look. It is tricky with nails. I did use my tweezers last week, I have to say, girls. And you will get a little bit inky, but that's okay because it's a water-based dye ink. So when I go to wash my hands after this, all the ink will be gone. It will be like magic. You can pick up the ink from the recess of your lid as well with your ink pad. So I'm just sponging around the outside there. You can also go a little bit onto the tree. See the difference that makes? It looks so cool. I love it. And I actually forgot to show you how to do the sponging with your journal box as well. So I'm going to do that in just a second. So I'm sponging my little trees. And let's just pretend this was my finished journal box. You're going to do the same around the outside of this. So it just gives a really fun distressed look. It's not meant to look perfect. You can rub it along the edges. You can go like this over the paper. Really whatever works for you. This technique looks great with holiday albums, outdoors albums, and also your heritage photos. If anyone's got heritage photos or a heritage album they're working on, ink distressing your cardstock or your journal boxes looks really cool. Okay, so that's all you're going to do. And once you've fussy cut out, I'm just going to wipe my trees off because I've finished stamping those. Once you have fussy cut your little Christmas trees out, you're going to use your thin 3D foam tape and you're going to cluster them together. So you can see I've put some of the trees straight onto the base of my cardstock. A couple of the others I've lifted up with the 3D foam tape. And on this side here as well, I've got another small cluster. These are in groups of 3s or 5. So when you're clustering your embellishments, it doesn't matter what embellishments you're using. A general rule of thumb is to cluster them together in odd numbers. Florists actually do that as well when they're assembling their flower bouquets. So I've just got a little cluster of 3 trees here and a little cluster of 5 trees here as well. And then you can see how that spreads out across the bottom of my layout. Just to fill in that little space, I noticed that Jill put that comment on her layout last week saying that she felt like it needed something else, another embellishment cluster. Don't always feel like you need to fill every available space. Sometimes less is more. And when you've got lots of photos on the page as well, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of extra embellishments. The idea with this embellishing technique down the side here was to fill this space here. It becomes like a feature. And in fact, if you've got the how-to pattern book yourself, you will see that that's where I took the inspiration from. They've actually done some splattering with the shimmer brushes, and then they've put embellishments and stamped images. These have been fussy cut. So this was a stamp. So they've stamped those and fussy cut them and then spread them out. So it ends up being like a bit of a waterfall technique down the side of your pages. So I hope you like that, girls. If you're going to use the Design Elements stamp set, I've taught with this one quite a bit already. This is the star set here, and all I've done is I've just stamped that. You can see it's off the page a little bit, so it's coming down. I've turned the stamp around, so it ends up being this border that runs down the side of your page. And then again, I did stamp a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom as well, just so it's sort of evened out a little bit. So coming back to Jill's question before, feeling like you need to add extra embellishments, sometimes it might not be an embellishment. You can see here, I don't have any embellishments up the top. I've just got that stamped image there. So sometimes it's not that you could add more embellishments. It could be that you put a background stamp or a background design stamp underneath just to fill a little bit of blank space if you feel that that's what you need to do. So that's my Technique Tuesday for you today, girls. We have done the fussy cutting technique and we have done the ink sponging around the Christmas trees. So I hope you like that. Now I'm going to need to find something to use. You could put these on Christmas cards as well with your card making, as well as your scrapbooking. So just a really fun little technique where you are fussy cutting your stamps with your micro tip scissors. And some of my customers don't have an embossing machine, and so they buy the stamp set and then they cut out the images as well. And that's okay too. It's really whatever's going to work best for you. So this is a great technique if you want to save a little bit of money with your scrapbooking and your paper crafting by fussy cutting instead of actually getting the die cut, the sets. If you've got the embossing machine, then I would obviously suggest to invest in the thin cuts. Okay, I'm going to do the lucky draw now. Yes, I'm doing the September draw today, Susan. Yes, I am doing that draw in my little ice cream container here. I was saving the best till last. The other Susans jumped on. Hi, Susan. I hope you've settled back into Queensland well. Nicole's online. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining us today. So I've got everyone's tickets in here, and whoever I am drawing out today is going to win a product prize pack valued at $50, and then you will get to choose one item at 50% off as well. So I am going to turn my head away from the camera, and I am going to pick out one piece of paper. Yes, it is one piece of paper, and our lucky winner is Jill Hines. Jill, you are the lucky winner of a $50 prize pack and one item at 50% off. I will be in contact with you via email to help you to redeem your prize. I'm heading off over to Middleton today to do a market at the South York Peninsula Agricultural Show, and I will be back in contact on Friday. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy your scrapbooking time, and I can't wait to see your weekly challenges. Thanks for watching, girls.